Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel, Watercolor Impressions. This week we will be learning how to achieve consistency with watercolors, a topic often overlooked by many artists. I aim to provide valuable tips to help you to maintain your creative momentum and persistence. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go so you can stay tuned for weekly updates from my channel. And let's get started, guys. I recently painted the same subject for the fourth time, and the results clearly demonstrate the impact of persistence on artistic improvement. There are 8 tips I'm going to provide in this video, and the first one would be the quality of the materials. It is really important of using high quality watercolor paper, paints and brushes. And it is also necessary if you start as an artist, or if you're a student, or if you're an hobbyist, get a small watercolor paper blocks or loose papers, and even like small tubes of paints before investing on a really expensive one, because you have to experiment with what works for you. Some of the recommendations I can give for watercolor paper are Saunders, Ochre and Payne, and the rest you can experiment with it, because you have to buy different watercolor papers. That's why I said get a smaller blocks or smaller papers and try it out which works best for you. At the end of the day, you should have a feel for your materials. It's kind of you're moving into a new house. You slowly build up your house by adding elements in your house to make it look good. Quality of the material also improves by your personal experience. So which leads me to the next tip, understanding your media. It is also necessary to understand the difference between transparent and opaque watercolors. The transparent watercolors allows light to pass through. It creates this translucing effect, whereas the opaque watercolors provide more solid coverage. It obscures the paper underneath, and it is solid and suitable for more opaque and solid color paintings. The example would be gouache. So if you paint over a gouache, it layers really nicely on top of it. Understanding your pigments and colors is also super important for artists and even for beginners and students, because it helps you to make the colors you want to mix to put it on a painting. It also stops your artwork from changing colors over time, and it also helps you to understand layering in watercolors. And sometimes if you have a problem in identifying the colors, you can also label in your swatches as well. Tip number 3, color mixing. Mixing is really important in watercolors because it involves blending 2 different colors to achieve the desired shades. So one of my favorite things to do, one of the things that helped me in color mixing is thinking everything in cool and warm tones. If I see a cool color, I'll mix something in the cooler tones like Cobalt Blue, French Ultramarine Blue, or Cerulean Blue. If it's in a warmer spectrum, I'll just mix yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, burnt amber, burnt sienna, which sits on the warmer tones. So when you think everything in warms and cool colors, it helps you to not to think about the color than thinking in warm and cooler tones. And one exercise, and I also give my students, is to have a journal and try to look for a reference and try to paint the exact desired shade they want in their watercolor book. And you can also name it and label it, so in the future use you know exactly what colors you used, so you can put it when you paint. So the next step is brush techniques. It is necessary to have a variety of brushes from rounds to flat, and you can check the link of different brushes I use. Having a significance of a good brush control is really important to have really nice confident strokes on your paintings. One of the exercises I do before I paint to train my dexterity is to take a blank piece of watercolor paper, and I try to create straight lines with different kinds of brushes, from a rigger to a flat brush to a round brush. And I also try to do straight lines and try lines with straight to thick and thick to thin, flat to thin, and thin to flat. And I also try to train the textures, creating different textures with my brush as well. So this helps you to learn how to do brush strokes when you paint, and significantly it shows in your artwork as well. I can't stress this enough. It is always necessary to wash your brushes and keep it clean, because next time when you paint, it's ready and good to go. So the next step is planning your attack, or planning your layers. In watercolors, you have to plan your layers in advance, because it can lead to more consistent and vibrant results. Thinking everything in layers helps you to control your value as well as the vibrancy of the colors. And there are several layering techniques which is necessary that every artist should know if they are a watercolorist. Is glazing, wet on wet and wet on dry. So glazing in watercolor, it involves applying a transparent layer of a color over a dry base layer to create a subtle layer effects. By glazing over top of color and color, you can get a darker tone, as well as if you want to have a mid-tone, you won't glaze more than necessary. So wet on wet is a technique where you apply a paint to a wet paper, allowing colors to flow, blend together more organically. While wet on dry involves applying a paint to a dry paper, resulting in a more controlled and precise brushwork. And I highly recommend to experiment with these three techniques. If you know these three techniques, you can create a beautiful watercolor artwork just by knowing these techniques. So the next step is having patience. It is really necessary when you work with this medium. You need to have that patience. And it also helps you to build that patience when you work with the watercolors, because patience is really essential in watercolor painting, because it requires waiting for layers to dry before adding more colors, because if you add like more colors, it also end up in muddying colors, because we need to achieve clean translucent effects, and that's what the medium is all about. Brushing can also lead to undesirable blending, and there might be a lot of bubbles, cauliflowers happening in your watercolor paper, and sometimes there will be loss of vibrancy in your paint as well. So the one tip I can give you is using a hairdryer. If you don't want to wait for the medium to dry, you can use the hairdryer to dry out the paint before you apply the next layer. But eventually, when you start with watercolor painting, if you keep going, and you'll understand the medium better, so you'll plan your attack, then you can avoid all those unintended blending or loss of vibrancy in your work. So the next step is learning from mistakes. As I say, mistakes are the best teachers, and it is also a fundamental part of artistic journey. So whenever I make a mistake before, I get really discouraged. I never seen those as an opportunities for growth, rather than the reasons for discouragement. Even experienced artists, they make mistakes all the time, but these mishaps often lead to breakthrough techniques or creativity. And in watercolors, that's a beautiful thing, because it creates this beautiful, happy little incidents, even though if you're not intended to do it. So it also helps you to experiment, as well as embrace your artistic evolution. And I can't stress this enough. If you make a mistake, just say that's what you wanted. One of the tip I learned from one of my favorite artists: whenever he makes mistakes, he says that's what I wanted. So you'll never make a mistake. So next time when you do it, think this as a way of refining your skills and creating a unique, meaningful art for you. Here comes our last tip: consistency through practice. I can't stress enough that regular practice is really necessary to achieve consistency. I personally paint as soon as I get up. I try to paint one painting a day, and I'm also doing a 1,000 painting challenge. I'm at 307 now, and you can also have some kind of challenge. You could do 10 painting in a month or 2 painting in a week, and slowly build it up. So once you have a goal and try to achieve it, the first time when you do it, it's a little hard. Like once you do it for 3 or 4 weeks, then it gets easier. You'll have the momentum to keep going. As an artist, it's a long apprenticeship, and you have to keep going in order to get better. It's kind of going to the gym. You don't see the results in 6 months, or you don't see the results in 1 month. If you keep going and persevere, eventually you will get it there. And you can also set a specific time you're going to paint regularly, and you can paint on that time. The easiest way to do is just to paint something really simple instead of doing an entire artwork. Try to paint an object, and try to paint a still life, or paint something you see on a regular basis, or paint some figures, and whatever that makes you feel really interesting to paint, just paint it. And the key point is just to keep the momentum and eventually increasing it. Thanks again for watching How to Be Consistent with the Watercolor, a painting tutorial. Please feel free to share your thoughts on the video in the comment section below. If you have any other topics related to watercolors that you would like me to cover, please reach out to me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for weekly uploads, and share it with your fellow artists, friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.